Happy Super Bowl Sunday, everyone. This is when I'm recording episode 5 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod, and today we are talking about one of my favorite things, superstitions. So, if you listened to last week's episode with Chris Plank, you heard him and I talk a little bit about the Super Bowl. You can see who I'm rooting for today. If you're watching my video, I'm wearing my Jalen shirt, and I am ready for the Super Bowl. I feel like I will be happy either way, but I'll also be a little sad either way. I have feelings both ways. So if you want to hear more on that, please listen to last week's episode with Chris Plank, where he also shares his thoughts on the Super Bowl. And I would like to first off thank this week's episode sponsor, which is HGX Designs. It's my friends Sonia and Robin Hunter, who own a printing company here in Ardmore, and they did my logo and designs and all of my merch and business cards and all the things, and they are fantastic. So if you have any printing needs, they are happy to help you with that. Apparel, logo design, signage, anything like that, they've got you covered. So for today's episode, we're going to talk about superstitions, and I posted on social media and asked for people to submit their superstitions and their families, or maybe their kids' sports teams, or whoever, even their husbands, and I got quite a list. So it was very interesting to read through all of these. I was really cracking up at some of them, but I'm actually glad to know that I'm not the only person who has like these weird things that we do on game day. So kind of makes me feel a little better. But wait till you hear some of mine. So a couple weeks ago, when Eric was on the show with me, I actually almost told one of my superstitions, and Eric was like, "No, wait." And I'm glad that I did, because it's the perfect way to kick off this week's episode. So, those of you who know me pretty well personally, you know that I don't shower on football game days. And I know that sounds kind of weird and gross, but it actually happened as an accident back in college in the 2000 season. I just randomly, I don't remember how it started, whatever reason, I didn't get up that morning to shower before the game. Well, we won. And if you're a huge OU fan, you know what happened in 2000. And so obviously that superstition stuck, and it's just become a thing ever since. So I do not shower on game days. And it's kind of comical because everybody will make a joke about it. And for years afterwards, if we lost a game, people would ask me if I showered, like I ruined it. But alas, I still to this day, 25 years later, do not shower on football game days. It's just part of my mental game day prep now. I don't know that I'll ever get past that. I don't really have that superstition with other sports. It's just with football. I do have different superstitions for other sports, but that one is mainly just for football. And so it's kind of funny how, sometimes those things just change over time. And obviously, like, here I am still not showering, and here we are still having never won another national championship. But if it ever works out in my favor again, I'm still going to hold to that. So another thing that I do, which is kind of funny, I don't have it on today. I always wear my OU necklace and my OU class ring on game day. And during football season, I wear it on the Friday before, because on the Friday before football, I'm usually dressed to go somewhere or go out or whatever. And so I always dress in my OU attire, my OU necklace, my OU ring, the day before and on game day. And then for all other sports, it's just for game day. I have to have on OU attire, I have to wear my OU necklace, and I have to wear my OU ring. And a few years ago, invite a friend of mine to go with me to OU, Texas for the first time. Shout out Cynthia, who is just about as crazy as I am. So she went with me to OU, Texas. Luckily, she wasn't going to unfriend me if I did hold true to this, but she actually went with me the first time for the year that we got beat in Dallas 49-0. And well, I told her that that's just kind of part of it. If you're an OU fan, if you go to the Red River rivalry, all of these years, like, you just know, just part of it is losing. Unfortunately, it's just part of the experience. A win, lose, hot, cold, rain, dry. It's just part of it. And so I told her, okay, you're going to get another shot next year. Come back with me. Let's try again, see how it goes. So obviously, the next year we won that game. We were in the end zone in the corner there when Nick Anderson caught that ball and won the game for us. And it was an incredible moment. And so I was glad I gave her another shot to come back with me. So I still give her a hard time a little bit. I almost banned her from going with me, but cut her some slack. And so you also know I talked last time with Eric about him having to wear the OU shirt because he lost a bet. And then I told him that he he actually cursed us because he's not an OU fan, so he should have never been in that shirt in the first place. But then we lost to Notre Dame, and he still jokes, I think, that it's his fault that we lost because he was wearing that shirt that he didn't belong in. So, there's that. Poor Eric also, I mean, he puts up with a lot of stuff with my superstition and just everything that I do during games, but he knows if he starts the game and he's outside or gone, there's a decent chance he may be stuck outside or gone from the house for the duration of the game. So I have told him before, like, if you don't plan on staying outside or staying gone for the next 4 hours, you may want to come inside. Now, on the flip side of that, if he comes inside and things are going south, there's a decent chance I'm going to boot him out. And I have done that before. But I don't watch the game with other people. This goes especially for OU football and softball. Don't have watch parties. I don't invite people over. I don't see sports as a social time for me. I'm there for the game. Even if I'm not there and I'm here watching it, I'm watching the game. I'm not here for the food. I'm not here for the social hour. I'm very serious. And so I just have very strict rules. So the story I told about my friends being over here watching the Rose Bowl that year and someone shut the blinds, I don't even know how they ended up over here in the first place. It's beyond me, honestly, because that's totally not me at all to do that. I do have a couple of people that I talk to during games, which is really funny because sometimes I'll get like random people who text me that I don't talk to on a regular basis, and it just, no offense, but it irritates me because I'm like, I don't talk to you any other day. Why are you texting me now? Like, and a lot of times it's like in reference to the game, like, are you watching? No. What else would I be doing? Of course I'm watching. Yes, I saw that. Yes, I know we're losing. Yes, I saw what happened. Like, come on. It drives me insane. So there's really only a handful of people that I talk to during the actual game. Karen, my best friend, is one of them. My friend Blake Scott, shout out to Blake. He's my little football buddy, softball buddy. We talk a lot. If he messages me, I'll respond. And my friend Donnie, he's probably at the top of the list only because we have talked during football season and NFL and college. I don't even know how long, for a long time. I've known him for nearly 20 years. And shout out Donnie, who now lives in Kentucky, actually, but he used to live in my hometown. And he is a huge sports fan. And so we still to this day, like, we will text during football, NFL, even some basketball. I don't typically just talk to anyone during the game because I'm focused. I'm watching the game. I'm on Twitter. I'm checking for reviews and behind the scenes stuff. If someone got hurt, I'm trying to figure out if they're okay. And I'm just on Twitter behind the scenes trying to figure things out. And I don't have time to talk to people. This is not social time. Do not text me during the game to ask me if I saw that. I just don't do it. Okay, just don't do it. A few years ago during the Softball World Series, we had just gotten a TV put on our back patio. And so the weather was great. And so I just decided, hey, I'm going to watch the games outside. Well, you can imagine, I start watching the games outside, there's no changing. There's no going back. So I had to spend the entire week of the Women's College World Series watching the games outside. I had to sit in a certain place. I was eating guacamole on day one. I ate guacamole all week. I was sick of it. I wore the same shirt. And so I was very superstitious about that. Well, we won the World Series that year. So I feel like I played a part in it with my superstition. One time I think it was 20, we were actually in Abilene at Karen's parents' house, and I was sitting in her dad's recliner, and we weren't doing so well, but we had a glimmer of hope still in the game. And so her dad came in and obviously was thinking he was going to sit in his recliner. And I just looked at him like he was crazy. Like, well, you're not sitting here now. So that poor man, who would have been about 60 years old at the time, sat in the floor for the duration of that football game so that I could stay in that recliner. That poor man. The people around me know, of course, again, I'm usually at home by myself watching games. That's why I don't like to be around other people, because I know that I'm weird and I'm picky and all the things, and I don't want to put other people out. I don't want to be uncomfortable. So I am very picky about my surroundings. But sometimes, just especially bowl games, like if you're gone somewhere, like we were at my friend Karen's that time, like I can't help it. We were gone. I had to watch the game somewhere. Unfortunately, these people got dragged into it and really had no choice. So my friend Keith, who is the one that was here the day that the blinds got shut. I think this may have started as a result of that. He's been doing this for a long time, but every time him and Lindsay find out something crazy about me, which is pretty regular, they call me their onion friend, and they say that another layer has been released. Every time they find out something different, Keith does this. Cuckoo. I'm joining. Cuckoo. So Keith will always say cuckoo. And it's just really like the classic description of me, I guess. It's kind of funny that he does that. And like literally every time we see each other, that's what he does. So on my next segment, I am going to be reading all of the superstitions that you people submitted to me. And let me tell you, you people are crazy. And again, I'm thankful that you're crazy because I am also crazy. So it makes me feel a little better about myself. So my friend Kristen, shout out Kristen. I saw you at the softball luncheon and I haven't seen you in a while. So it was really great to see you. But shout out to Kristen because her and my friend Meg, who also submitted one, we've got a lot of memories together. I actually want to have them on the pod to talk about some of our college football stories because we got some stories to tell. So Kristen said that her family decided that her brother isn't allowed to watch OU Texas football in person anymore because every time he goes, they lose. So he's banned. Every time? Yeah, I definitely get a complex about myself if that happened, but I wouldn't be going back if that were the case for me. Meg, shout out Meg, she says if she's watching and the team is losing, she walks out of the room, and if they start winning, she won't watch it the rest of the game. That's especially true with basketball. And for football, if they're losing and she's wearing a certain shirt, she will wear that shirt on game day for the rest of the season. That's a good one. See, that's what happened with me with softball a couple years ago. And I don't know about you, but like, I don't wash it. So now if I were going to the game and like sweating or something, that'd be a little different. Like you kind of have to wash that. But if I'm home, I wore the same shirt for what, 3 or 4 days in a row and I didn't wash it. But you know, it is what it is. So, Meg, do you wash your shirt or do you just keep wearing it? You have to let me know. Okay, Chelsea. My friend Chelsea is another one who is crazy like me, and not many people can put up with us because we are very serious. So shout out to her husband, who's also an Eric, but he's a big fan too. But they put up with a lot of our superstition. Chelsea said that she takes a shower if she's at home watching and they're losing. It's worked before and had some of their best comebacks. Eric and I do not change our seat at the games with each other. He's had his seat and I have mine. Okay, that is true. Okay, we sit by some of the sweetest people in Norman. Shout out to Brenda and Dan. I love them dearly. So Eric sits by Brenda because I don't know, like for years before we even really knew them, he sat on that side and I sit over here. And so even if he's not with me, if a friend or whoever comes with me, that's who sits by Brenda. I love Brenda. It's not that I don't want to sit by her. I can't. That's my seat. Now, I have switched before when there's been some bad juju going on and I was mad and I was just like, let's just see what happens. And well, it didn't go well. So I just go back to my seat. So I do. I have my seat too. So glad to know I'm not the only one who does that. Oh, my friend Elaine. I love Elaine. Okay, so Elaine is my neighbor. And I love that there's so many people, and no offense, Elaine, but Elaine is a little older than me. And so I have people listening to the podcast who are my age. I have some younger girls listening, and I have some older people listening and submitting and engaging. And I am just so thankful for that because it really makes me feel special. So shout out Elaine, who has been a big supporter of mine with the pod. So Elaine says that she has several different OU shirts that she wears on game day. She has an OU necklace. If they win the first game, she wears exactly the same clothes for the next game and wears those same clothes every game day until they lose. And then she changes shirts and repeats the process. Her goal is to wear one shirt all season, obviously. Undefeated season. That would be amazing. I did have several people who sent in photos of their superstition. So I'm going to put some up on the video and I'll post them on social media throughout the week so you can see what I talked about on the show. My friend Amanda Thomason, who's actually also a college friend of mine, we have a lot of football memories and just OU memories together in general. And she sent me some photos. So some of hers, so she lives in Kansas City. And so she's a huge Chiefs fan. And so she sent me some photos. She always wears Chiefs gear every day the week of the Super Bowl. So since last week, she has worn a different Chiefs shirt every day, all week long. My friend Mallory, she also lives just outside of Kansas City, and obviously most people are Chiefs fans there, and she is not a Chiefs fan. She said, I own a few shirts with my team logos, but they are heavily outdated. When she had a little extra money around baseball playoff time, she updated with a new shirt for the Broncos, Yankees. So The Yankees are in the playoffs. Fast forward to the World Series against the Dodgers, and it had come in. And so she did not want to wear it because it was brand new. And there were so many friends who were haters, and they were posting all the time about how the Yankees were going to get swept. So the Yankees were down 3-0, and she just said, forget it. I'm going to wear my new shirt because it's new. I like it, and I don't care. So she wore it, and guess what? They won. That is crazy. So she did not wash it, and she wore it again for game 5, but then they lost in that awful inning of the World Series. But she's still keeping the shirt though, because it's truly one of her favorite shirts. Oh, Mallory, it's a cute one. I want to share that photo. That is actually a really hilarious story. You know, you finally break down and get new shirts, then you don't want to wear them because, you know, they're not broken yet. And then well, see what happened. You never know. Okay, so my friend Stephanie, she's a huge softball fan, one of my longtime friends. So she used to play softball, and she said that they would always have the same ritual when they would go up to bat, and that you would have to do the same thing in the same order every time you would go up. There's like you couldn't deviate from it at all. And they would have a winning streak, and she would wear the same socks and sliders. You could not wash them. You didn't wash your socks after playing softball? Oh man, those things had been rank. My friend Robin says she always knows that she will wear the same clothes or hairstyle or shoes when the team is winning, and she will not change it until they lose. Back to my friend Donnie. He said that if he is going to miss part of the game and they were winning, that he wouldn't watch the rest of it because he's afraid they'll start losing. He says, you know this. You did tell me to stop watching once. And that is true. I can't remember what game that was, Donnie, but literally he was gone somewhere that morning with his family. He came home and I was updating him on the game throughout the morning. He came home and turned the game on and we started losing. I'm like, turn it off. We are not doing this. Go away. He got in big trouble. But if I remember correctly, we ended up not winning after all. But Donnie got in big trouble because I'm kind of blaming him a little bit. My friend Jessica, she said for her son's games, she has to wear the same shirt and same jewelry for the same reason. Okay, the same shirt and jewelry. That seems to be a pretty common thread. My friend Mandy, she has a very athletic family. Like her nephews are all very athletic. Some of her brother-in-laws are coaches, so they are very superstitious. So she said that some of the boys told her that they wear 2 pair of the same pair in the same order every time. Socks. The whole team goes to the same restaurant, eats the same thing before all the games. One player must pray before he steps onto the court and must make 2 shots from every spot before he leaves practice. I might be there all day if I had to make 2 shots from the same spot, but that's pretty funny. My friend Kim, shout out to Kim. I met her at a softball game last season, so I hope to see you again this spring out at the Diamond. She said, if we lose a game, I will not wear the same shirt that I wore to the game again. Some shirts I have never worn again a second time at all. Wow. We do not have watch parties for bowl games since we lost to the Boise State with the trick play in the 2007 Fiesta Bowl. Oh my gosh. Yeah, we don't want to talk about that. If we're watching a game at home and OU's behind at half, we will change seats. Okay, that's funny. My friend Kathy, who's also been a great supporter of the pod, she said, mine are typically lucky shirts, jewelry, seats, and if I'm in Norman, I stop on the way in to get an HTO sweet tea. At home, she has a tall flagpole out front, and she gets a new OU flag every season, and it stays up until football season is over. It symbolizes that the last year is over and it's a new season. That's actually a fantastic idea. Definitely going to need a fresh start this season. Okay, my friend Robin. I met Robin when we worked at the same school system 20 years ago. And Robin comes by her love for OU very naturally, as did I. We got that love from our fathers. And Robin, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but I remember when I attended your dad's funeral, and your dad passed away not long after my dad had. And your dad was buried in an OU casket. And I still remember it to this day. It was beautiful and perfect for him, and just definitely describes Shell's love for the Sooners, and I love it so much. She said she must be in her seat before the band enters the field. Her husband made her wait on him, and I said, now if we lose, it's going to be your fault because I wasn't in my seat, and so they lost. Billy! Are you for real? He should know better than that. But I'm with you, girl. I like to get to my seat super early. People make fun of me because I'm usually more of a right on time person. Not typically late, but like if something's at 10 o'clock, I get there like right at 10 o'clock. But for football and airplanes, I don't mess around. Mainly just all sporting events. I am there super early. So I am always, if they open the gates 2 hours before, I'm going in because I got to go to the bathroom. I got to get my water. I got to sit down. I want to watch them warming up. I want to see who's out there, who's on the injury list. I'm going to scroll on Twitter and read all the secrets of what's going on behind the scenes. So I get you, Robin. Don't let Billy keep you out late again from being in your seat. That's not okay. She said if you lose in a shirt, you can't wear it again. And whatever shirt you're wearing at the first kickoff, you wear until you lose. Okay. In the year 2000, my whole family watched the game in tank tops and short sleeves in January. Okay, that's really funny because that was our national championship year, and y'all watched. It was cold, if I remember correctly. She said if we aren't winning, everyone switches seats, looking for a seat that works. If we score and we are in a different seat, you stay there until we get behind again. Against Baylor a few years ago, we were losing, and I was watching my brother in Kingston, and I left to go home, and we started winning, so I couldn't stop driving until the game was over. My son was upset and kept begging me to go home, and I told him no. I said we started winning while I was driving, so we don't stop. I'm with you. This is me. She said, if I'm doing something and we start gaining yardage and scoring, I have to keep doing it. Pacing, driving, looking at my phone, or whatever. And I continue it until something bad happens and then I change. I have a lucky shirt and I will change into it during away games to bring luck. If you're not in the same room with me at kickoff at away games, you can't come in and start watching. I second that. You're either there at kickoff or I will see you after the game. I've had a lucky blanket for away games that I have to lay over me. We got to the bowl game late this year and they scored twice before we got there, and I said we are going to lose, and we didn't score again till the fourth quarter and decided to leave, and then the tide turned and we started moving the ball. Are you serious? Oh my gosh. She said, we told everyone on the shuttle that you were welcome. The Sooners had bad juju with us until we left. And I wasn't in my seat when the band hit the field. Was it Billy's fault again? My goodness. Even through the Blake and Stellenberger years, we all kept the same rituals. My favorites of my dad's on game day are that first thing in the morning he would put on his Pride of Oklahoma album and play Boomer Sooner as loud as it would go. He did that every Saturday for 31 years. I still have it, I'm sure, but I just don't listen to CDs anymore. But I had several CDs of the band, and I used to do the same thing. It wasn't ritualistic though, like I did it every week, but my dad and I would listen to it on the way to Norman a lot. That's really funny. She said, I know Daddy's sitting close by watching his Sooners, but now even more so, he's watching his grandson that he never met attend the University of Oklahoma and play for the Pride of Oklahoma. He used to make us stay and watch the band after all the games, never dreaming that one of his grands would one day be able to do that. That is 51 years of superstitions that are perfected, and that is from a deep-rooted Sooner family, and I love hearing that. Thank you, Robin, for sharing that. I really loved all of those. Okay, so my friends, Mike and Christy, they have a large family, a lot of grandkids, and they're all involved in sports. So I reached out to them because I knew they had some good ones. And this one's actually really funny. So Christy said that she tosses an orange during the baseball games when she's watching her grandsons. And she's been doing it since Nate was in school, which he's in his 20s now. She said some of the family says it was me tossing all of those oranges that caused Kale to choose OSU. Who knows? Okay, so they're like a huge OU family. And Kale is a freshman at OSU this year, and he is on the baseball team, which is super exciting. He's very talented. Eric obviously is very excited to be able to go and watch him. So that is really funny that you were tossing an orange all of those times, and now look what happened. So I would say we could blame you for him going to OSU, but that doesn't sound very nice. But we all know how I really feel. But anyway, okay, my friend Sarah, her husband is a coach, and she's not really into sports in general, but she said that when her husband is coaching football, if they win, all the coaches wear the same clothes for the next game until they lose. He wears his OU socks on football game days. Well, that's still pretty interesting to know, like your husband's a coach and they have superstitions too. I should have reached out to some more coaches because now I'm intrigued. My sweet friend Allie, she said her sophomore year of high school, she was trying to work her way up into the starting lineup, and so she finally did. And she decided that night to French braid her hair. So she ended up dropping 5 threes in that game. So she was forced to wear French braids all season long from her superstitious upperclassmen. My friend Casey, her mom, I call her Pi Pi because that's her grandma nickname. So Pi is so hilarious because I knew this about her, and she actually shared a photo also. I'm going to share it. So she has a hat that she wears during the Women's College World Series. She calls it her natty hat. And she doesn't wear it a lot in general, but sometimes wear like other ball caps to games. But this is her natty hat, and she always wears it to the Women's College World Series. And obviously the last 4 years she's worn it, and well, we see what happens. So on to this week's Sooner headlines. Okay, I went to 3 OU sporting events in 24 hours this past weekend. Friday night, my niece and I attended women's gymnastics. On Saturday, Eric attended with me the men's basketball game and the men's gymnastics meet. And it was overall a good weekend, minus basketball, but we'll get there in a minute. But I had a great weekend. It was a good Sooner weekend, and I made some memories with my niece and my husband yesterday. And he had never been to a men's gymnastics meet before. He had been wanting to do that, so that was a lot of fun. We haven't made one together. I went to one in college, I know, maybe a couple, but it had been a minute since I had gone. So it was really cool to go back into McCausland Fieldhouse. I don't know if I'd been in there since I graduated in that building in 2003, but it's such a beautiful historic building and it's just really special. If you ever get a chance to attend an event in McCausland, I know our volleyball play in there, our wrestling is there, and men's gymnastics, and it's just an incredible building. It was a really neat experience last night at the men's gymnastics meet. The two teams that were in town were Stanford and Greenville. And Stanford, if you know really anything about men's gymnastics. So Stanford and Oklahoma, between those two teams, have won the national championship every year for the last 7 years. They're a very talented team. We had two Olympians in the building last night. We had Emory, who is the Sooner Olympian, and then Stanford also had an Olympian on their team. And it was just really neat to see those very talented gymnasts. It was incredible watching some of them and those men. And I don't know, for me, like to see a smaller framed woman like flipping all over the place, it's graceful and beautiful and really cool to see. But to see a man doing it, it's so cool. They're so big and strong and thick, and it was really a lot of fun. So I highly encourage you to get out and check out the men's gymnastics team if you get a chance. They're very well coached, obviously very talented team. They're ranked number 1 in the nation. And a lot of people don't know that, don't get out and support them. The tickets are cheap, y'all. So I think they have one more home meet this year. We did win the meet last night. The final score was 329.1 to Stanford's 328.85. So it was a pretty close one at that, but it was really cool that we were able to beat them because they're a very talented team. The other team that was there is Greenville, and they're a fairly new program. We did meet some friends in line behind us. So shout out to Jacob Foster and his parents. That's who we met in the line to wait to get in the building. Their program is fairly new, so you could tell that they were not quite up to the level of perfection as OU and Stanford were, which I don't mean that in a rude way at all. It just goes to show the elite status and how good those Oklahoma and Stanford athletes really are. But it was really cool to meet them in line because we got to watch Jacob on the floor during his routine. And Friday night, I attended the women's gymnastics meet with my niece, and it was Kentucky. And they have 2 more home meets this season on February 21st and on March the 7th. And so you should get out and support those girls if you can. They have a pretty good crowd at the Lloyd Noble Center, and they are a lot of fun to watch. We sat over in the corner that was right next to the floor routine, so we really got a good view of the floor, and it's just so neat to watch those girls and their choreography. And we were talking about who does this choreography for them, who comes up with this stuff, and like the whole team knows everybody's dances and they're all over there doing it together, and it's just really cool to see. And again, our women's gymnastics also ranked number 1 in the nation, and Kentucky came in. They were a top 10 team that came into Norman, and we beat them, and our gymnastics program is phenomenal. I want to throw in a little side note about men's basketball. I don't want to go off into too much about them because I'm a little frustrated, as is everyone pretty much. And it was just a really ugly game in Auburn earlier in the week. And then the officials were crazy. Dayton Forsyth, he was the team point leader at Auburn. He had 13 points that night. It was just a rough night and a rough week for OU basketball. They hit a lot of big shots, and it was so loud in there. And the announcers kept calling out the OU fans at Lloyd Noble and how we had a lack of crowd and a lack of volume and a lack of basically support. And, honestly, I thought it was kind of crazy that they kept pointing it out several different times about our fan base, and it was a little offensive, but at the same time, I can't really blame them. So I don't know really what to say, Sooner Nation, but please show up and support these guys and be loud. Like I said, I know yesterday was rough. It was just rough all around. It was not consistent at all. We could not get a rebound. We were bad on defense. We couldn't hit a shot, and they were hitting everything. Now, granted, Tennessee's the number 4 team in the nation, so we kind of knew going in it wasn't going to be super pretty, but we thought, well, at home, it's a decent game, bring in a decent crowd, which there actually was a fairly decent crowd there from the get-go. We got issues in the basketball department, and I don't really know what the answers are. I mean, Chris Plank and I talked about Porter in the basketball program last week, and just Porter's a great guy. I think he's a great coach. Like the kids really like him. I don't know where the struggle is. I don't know where the disconnect is. We're just not getting in there and having that passion and finishing and getting the job done. And I don't know what the answer is, but we're not looking good on the right side of the bubble right now for March Madness, and that's very disappointing. We do not want to miss the tournament. If we miss the tournament again this year, I'm afraid that some jobs are going to be on the line. And as much as I hate to say that, I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, something's got to be done. We can't just keep being mediocre on one of the biggest sports that brings in revenue for the university. The two biggest revenue makers are football, obviously, and men's basketball. And so when those are struggling and people aren't supporting and doing all the things, like, we can't have that. We've got to figure out what is wrong, and we've got to fix it. And speaking of football, I know we talked about Venables on here before, and I love him. I do. I feel the same way about him as I do Porter Moser. I think when they were hired, we were very excited about the possibility and what was to come with that, but their performance thus far has been pretty lackluster. And I really hate that because I think they're good people. I think they are developing more off the court, off the field, which is obviously also important. You can't just focus on developing an athlete, you need to focus on developing the person, and that's what they're doing. However, if you're not performing and winning games and you don't look good on the field, on the court, unfortunately, that's the ultimate job here. And so I'm just afraid that a lot of things are going to be on the line and change if the performance isn't there for basketball the rest of the season. They don't make the tournament, and for football this coming fall. And speaking of football, just this past week, a lot of people have been chattering about spring football coming up and things like that. And Matt Rule, who is the coach at Nebraska, he came out and he said, hey, we're not going to have a spring game this year because we don't want people seeing our talent and tampering with our players. Well, I have mixed feelings about that because I feel like the spring game is one of those things that keeps the fan base engaged throughout the off season of football. I mean, we can see the new kids that came in and what they've been doing in spring practice, the new coaches and what they've implemented and how they've made things better and things like that. And the spring football game is there to engage you and just kind of hold you over until football season. And to think that that might be something that goes away, it really is sad to me because it's always something that I look forward to. It's close to my birthday every year. It's kind of like a little reunion, that a time I used to get together with my college friends. It's just a tradition that we've had for a long time now. And to think the game might not happen, it's just really crazy to me. But Texas is another school who released a statement talking about how they may get rid of their spring game. I know a lot of schools are just talking about going to more of an NFL type layout where they don't want that wear and tear on the college athletes, and they want to use the NFL model for their off season and set that up. And obviously that doesn't include any kind of off season game. And so if they do that, I mean, it kind of makes sense a little bit because, like it or not, college football is shifting, and I do have mixed feelings about it, but it's shifting and it's changing. And if you don't keep up as a university, then you're going to fall behind. And whether you like it or not, it just is what it is. And so I don't like the fact that that may happen, but if everyone else is moving to this model of a setup for their football programs, then OU needs to do it too. We need to stay ahead of the game. We need to stay on top of things. We need to keep up with it. And so if that is what it cost us to keep up with it, then I'm not going to be happy about it, but I guess it just is what it is. But I do feel like that the players should be involved in the decision making. I think that they have more of a say, in NFL with their agents and stuff. And most of these college athletes these days also have agents. So I think they should be able to throw in their 2 cents and say what they want to say about how they feel about the model. And there's a lot more to it than just the potential tampering with the roster and things like that. And like mentioned, I know it's just like a wear and tear. And what if somebody gets hurt in it? But I'm like, well, they could also get hurt in practice. I mean, I don't know. It's just crazy to think about how much college football has changed, whether it be for the good or just in general. Like, I don't really know how to label it. And, we can sit here and argue about whether we like it or we think it's good or bad or whatever, but sadly, it doesn't matter. Because, like I said, if this is what is happening in the landscape of college football, you have to keep up with it. So it's sometimes just best just to focus on, okay, this is what we're doing now, and this is the cost, and just move on with it. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens over the next couple of years. I mean, OU has their spring game scheduled this year for April the 12th. Is it going to be our last one? I don't know. I hope not. I think there's a lot of pros and good things that come out of the spring game, not to mention the camaraderie and just holding over the fan base and things like that. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how things work and just how things pan out with football. Back to basketball for just a second. I wanted to throw in a little plug for our NBA guys. If you're not following our NBA boys, and I do love the Thunder, but I'm referring to our OU alumni who are in the league. We have Buddy Hield, who plays for Golden State. He is no stranger to the 3-point contest that he's going to be a part of here in a few weeks. He's going to represent them on All-Star Saturday. And then Trae Young had a stellar week this past week. 35 points, 13 assists, 4 rebounds. Austin Reeves, he also had a stellar game at 45 points, 7 rebounds, and 7 assists on Saturday night with the Lakers. Okay, our women's basketball team, they have been super fun to watch this season. I know I've mentioned before, I really enjoy watching Peyton Verhulst play, and they played at Ole Miss on Thursday night, and I had basketball on TV and then softball on my iPad, and then vice versa. I was double timing it. But Peyton really took control in that game at Ole Miss, and she was incredible. She had 19 points and 10 rebounds. Reagan Beers was out with an illness, but she was there with the team, so I think she's okay. She should be able to play tomorrow night. They play at home against Auburn, so that ought to be a very good game. I'm looking forward to. Sahara Williams also had a great night in Ole Miss. She had 14 points, and Liz Scott and Beatrice Culleton also had a great night. Watching these girls, I just have a special place in my heart for women's sport, and it's just incredible to see these female athletes and how strong they are and just how much fun they have and the passion they have for the game. And Coach Jenny, I just love watching these girls. So if you get a chance to get out and check them out at a home game, I highly recommend doing that. But if not, give them a tune in on TV. Baseball starts this Friday, and I'm excited to see them. They had their diamond dinner last night on Saturday, and Jake Irvin was there. So I'm ready for the diamond sports this spring. We've already gotten into softball, and I've saved that for last because we all know that's one of my favorites. But I am super pumped for the spring sports, and like I said, baseball gets started this week, and I am ready to go. Okay, let's talk softball. I have been waiting for this. So softball started this past Thursday. We're out in Cali this weekend, and it's not a tournament. They've just been doing a tour. 4 cities, 6 games, 4 stadiums. And Patty explained a while back why she chose to do that and to not attend the normal Puerto Vallarta tournament, not the Mary Nutter, Clearwater, none of those big name tournaments that a lot of the teams are going to. She chose to go out to some of these schools, smaller schools out in Cali that are struggling maybe with needing funds and things like that. If you've kept up a little bit with the softball landscape, there have been a couple of smaller schools here recently who have cut their softball programs because of lack of funding. And it's crazy to think, like, even as good as Oklahoma is, they say that Oklahoma softball doesn't make any money. I think maybe they just make enough to sustain themselves. And obviously lots of donations and the generosity of Loves is what built the stadium. But it's crazy to think, well, if OU softball isn't making any money, then none of these other places are either. So Patty chose to go out on the West Coast and go to all of these teams and play. And she told them, I'm not coming if you don't charge admission. I'm trying to help you. I want to help you make money for your program. So charge admission and I will come. So these stadiums brought in stands to accommodate the crowds and these girls coming in, and they sold out. They made money. And it's just incredible to think that Patty knows the influence that she has on the sport, and she's using it for the good. She's recognizing what power that she has and can hold, and she's using that to help other people. And that's just incredible. It's been an adjustment just trying to learn all of the new players and numbers and faces and all of the things. And there's a lot of sentiment, in losing the players that we had for what felt like forever. And Jada, Kinsey, Tiare, Nicole, those players that we just had for so many years, and now they're gone, and there's new faces and new numbers and new names. And it's just weird to look out there and see someone else wearing number 9, someone else wearing number 24. And it's crazy to think we lost the greatest senior class in softball history, and Patty has replaced them with this incredible freshman class of transfers and new freshman players. Familiar faces that we do have in Ella Parker, Cassidy Pickering, Sydney Sanders. They're already making a difference in the game, and it's been very cool to see all of these newcomers coming in. With Agbayani, she hit an in-the-park home run in the 9th in Game 2. Abby Dayton has been fun to watch. Sam Landry, she started in Game 2. She gave up a homer early, but she really came in clutch and had 11 Ks. It was a 2-hit run game for Ella that game and came back and won. We really needed that 3-run blast by Pickering in the 5th of Game 2. Bella Smith, whom we did not see in the fall because of some transcript issues with her transfer, but she has been amazing in the circle. She pitched 3 1/3 innings. She had 5 Ks, no hits on her perfect game as a starter. Audrey Lowry made her freshman debut in Game 2, and she has been incredible to watch. She just walked into the Lions' den with 2 outs and runners on, and she got the K and got the job done. Obviously, we're not lacking in the circle this year. Like, these girls are incredible. I mean, literally just walked into the middle of the Lions' den and picked it up and went with it. Gabby Garcia is our shortstop freshman starter, and she has already made some outstanding plays. I believe it was Game 1 or 2. Patty came out of the dugout and told her to shift over. Well, that next batter up at the plate, she hit that ball right into her glove, and she was able to get the out at second. It was just incredible. Nellie has not disappointed. She made an outstanding catch over the dugout last night in Game 5. Sid Barker started at shortstop in Game 2, but she had some big RBIs. In Game 4, she had a 3-run homer in Game 4. I'm still waiting to find out some more information on Hannah Core. She hurt her ankle in Game 2 after the go-ahead squeeze bunt that she had, and I did hear that she should be able to return next week, but she hasn't played again this weekend out in Cali. Isabella Emmerling hit a grand slam in the 9th inning the other night. We went to extra innings. We played till nearly midnight. I was up so late Thursday night, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. She hit that grand slam in the 9th. Agbaani added an extra run for insurance, and that was an incredible game. Another big name is Tia Malloy. She had her first Sooner hit. It was a home run in Game 3 this weekend. And I have always said that I felt like that Sid Sanders is one of those names that doesn't get a lot of respect, that isn't as well known as maybe she should be. She's been around at OU for several years, and she's always making big plays, but it just seems like there was always somebody else whose name we knew ahead of hers. But she's really making her name for herself this season, playing over on first base. She hit a center field homer, and she is not someone to sleep on. She's very dependable over there at first base. She had a beautiful double play as well, so don't sleep on Sid Sanders this season. We had a beautiful 6-4-3 double play to end the game yesterday on our second run roll of the weekend, 9-0. Cassidy Pickering had a 3-run home run. Tia Malloy had her 2-run home run. Ella Parker and Sid Sanders both hit single home runs, and Sam Landry again in the circle had a complete game with only 4 hits and 8 Ks in her complete shutout game. Now, I'm recording this before we play the final game of the weekend, so I'm about to go and watch. I have no doubt those girls are going to pull it out. So to end this week's episode, I have a Sooner Fun Fact of the Week, and it is brought to you by HGX Designs. Did you know that Peyton Graham is the OU baseball player who in 2022 became the first Division I player since 2004 to hit 20 home runs and steal 30 bases in a single season? With baseball starting this week, I thought that was a great tidbit of information to throw in to kind of get us pumped up for baseball. It starts this Friday, so I hope you guys will check out the schedule and tune in and support our Sooner boys. I would like to thank everyone again for your overwhelming support on social media. for your follows and downloads and just all of the podcast listen. For those of you who have purchased merch, again, if you haven't sent me a photo, shoot me one. I would like to have that to share. Please like, follow, and subscribe on all social media and podcast platforms. I have everything linked and the link in all of my bios. I'm at Sooner Girl Pod on all social media, and you can find me there everywhere. You can find my link in all of those bios to do all of the things, to purchase merch, to follow on all social media platforms, to listen on all platforms. Join the locker room. Girls, if you have not heard, I have created what's called the locker room, and for only $5 a month, you can join on Substack. There's information that also linked in my bio. We have a chat that's going strong. We will be having giveaways. We'll do a monthly Zoom meeting, an in-person meetup, and a discount on merch. So if you're interested in joining the locker room, which is my girls only community, that I wanted to create a safe space for girls to have a voice, to share their Sooner thoughts and memories and photos and talk about games and everything that's going on. So come on over and join the fun. We would love to have you. That's all I have for this week's episode of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. So thank you for giving me a listen today. I had a lot of superstitions. I really wanted to share them all because everyone took the time to send those in, and I really appreciate it. So thanks everyone for listening to episode 5 of Sooner Girl Sports Pod. I hope to see you back next Wednesday where we talk sports.